When heiress Marina Collins disguises herself as a maid to test her fiancé's family, her risky plan explodes into betrayal, secrets, and an ultimatum that could end it all. Before we get into the story, comment below where in the world you are watching from today. Marina Collins pulled her silver BMW into the parking lot of the mall and checked her reflection in the rearview mirror. Her honey blonde hair was perfectly styled, her makeup flawless. At 25, she had everything most women dreamed of: beauty, brains, and a bank account with more zeros than she cared to count. "This is crazy," she muttered to herself, grabbing her designer purse. Absolutely crazy. But she couldn't shake the nagging doubt that had settled in her stomach weeks ago, the doubt that had led her to this mall, to buy clothes she would never normally wear, to hatch a plan that could either save her relationship or destroy it completely. Marina walked purposefully through the department store, bypassing the luxury brands she usually shopped at. Instead, she headed straight for the clearance section. Plain cotton t-shirts, simple jeans, a pair of sneakers that had seen better days, and most importantly, a basic black uniform dress that screamed domestic help. As the daughter of renowned art dealer Victor Collins, Marina had grown up in a world of privilege. Private schools, summer homes, and trust funds had been her normal. She'd never known what it meant to struggle, not until she met Lucas. Lucas Martinez was everything Marina wasn't. The son of immigrants, he'd worked his way through architecture school, taking odd jobs and living on ramen noodles. His family still lived in the same modest countryside home where he'd grown up, about an hour outside the city. Marina smiled as she thought about Lucas, his warm brown eyes, the way his face lit up when he talked about his designs. How he'd refused to let her pay when they went out, even though a single dinner at her favorite restaurant probably cost him a day's salary. They'd met at a charity event where his firm had donated design services. Marina had been there representing her father's gallery. Lucas had been the only person all night who hadn't known who she was or cared about her family's money. 6 months later, he'd proposed with a ring that Marina knew had cost him months of savings. She'd said yes without hesitation, but then came the dinner with his family, his mother Elena with her tight smile and critical eyes, his older sister Gabriela, who kept making comments about people who've had everything handed to them, his father Miguel, who barely spoke to her at all. Only his younger brother Tomas had shown her any real warmth. Marina had tried to tell herself it was nothing, that they were just nervous meeting her, that things would get better with time, but the doubt remained. "Will that be all?" the cashier asked, pulling Marina back to the present. "Yes," Marina said, handing over her credit card. "Thank you." Back in her car, Marina checked her phone. A text from Lucas. "Can't wait for you to come stay with us next week. Mom's so excited to get to know you better. Love you." Marina felt a twinge of guilt. Lucas had no idea what she was planning. No idea that she'd already arranged to arrive a day early, not as his fiancée, but as Maria, the maid his mother had supposedly hired to help prepare for a special guest. Lucas would be away on business that first day, perfect timing for Marina's plan. His family had never gotten a good look at the real maid Marina had actually hired and then paid to stay home. It was a crazy plan, a risky plan. But Marina needed to know. Did Lucas's family have a problem with her, or with her money? The week passed in a blur of preparations. Marina practiced speaking with a slight accent. She studied how the maids at her father's house moved and worked. She even had her friend Rosa, who worked as a housekeeper, teach her the basics of cleaning. The night before her departure, Marina sat on her bed, staring at her engagement ring. The diamond was small by her family's standards, but it meant more to her than any of the expensive jewelry she owned. It represented Lucas's love, his hard work, his promise of a future together. "I hope I'm wrong about them," she whispered, carefully placing the ring in her jewelry box. For the next day, she couldn't wear it. For the next day, she wouldn't be Marina Collins, heiress. She would be Maria Diaz, maid. The Martinez family home looked exactly as Lucas had described it, a modest 2-story house with a wraparound porch and faded blue shutters. The garden was well tended, with rows of vegetables and herbs that Elena Martinez prided herself on. Maria, parked her rented economy car down the street and walked the rest of the way, rolling her small suitcase behind her. She'd dressed in her plain clothes, pulled her hair back in a simple ponytail, and worn only minimal makeup. Her heart pounded as she knocked on the front door. Elena Martinez answered, her sharp eyes taking in Marina's appearance with a quick, dismissive glance. "You're the maid agency sent?" she asked, her tone making it clear she wasn't impressed. Yes, ma'am, Marina replied, lowering her eyes. Maria Diaz, I'm here to help prepare for your son's fiancé. Eleanor's mouth tightened at the mention of Lucas's fiancé. Well, come in then. There's plenty to do before she arrives tomorrow. That woman probably expects everything to be perfect. Marina flinched at the edge in Elena's voice, but followed her inside. The house was clean and comfortable, if a bit worn. Family photos lined the walls. Lucas as a child, at his graduation, with his siblings. The guest room needs to be completely redone, Elena said, leading Marina upstairs. Fresh sheets, dusting, vacuuming. The bathroom needs scrubbing too. Miss Collins is used to the finest things, I'm sure. The way she said Miss Collins made it sound like an insult. Then there's all the cooking prep to do. I'm making special meals for her visit, though I doubt anything I cook will be good enough for her refined tastes. Marina bit her tongue. I'm sure she'll appreciate anything you make, Mrs. Martinez. Elena snorted. You don't know these types of people, born with silver spoons in their mouths, never worked a real day in their lives. Marina's cheeks burned, but she kept her expression neutral. Where should I put my things? There's a small room off the kitchen. It's not much, but it's where you'll sleep. The bathroom down there is yours to use. The room was indeed small, barely bigger than a closet with a narrow cot and a single dresser. Marina set down her suitcase, trying to ignore the sinking feeling in her stomach. This was going to be harder than she thought. Over the next few hours, Marina worked harder than she ever had in her life. She scrubbed floors, washed windows and dusted furniture, all under Elena's critical eye. You missed a spot, Elena would say, or that's not how you fold towels, or can't you work any faster? By lunchtime, Marina's hands were red and raw, her back aching. She sat at the kitchen table, eating the sandwich Elena had reluctantly made for her, when the front door opened. Mom? Dad? Anybody home? A female voice called. In the kitchen, Gabriella, Elena replied. Lucas's older sister walked in, dressed in crisp business attire. At 32, she worked as a loan officer at the local bank, a fact Lucas had mentioned with pride. Who's this? Gabriella asked, eyeing Marina with the same dismissive look her mother had given. The maid. She's helping prepare for Her Highness's arrival tomorrow. Gabriella laughed. Oh, right. Lucas's princess is coming to grace us with her presence. Marina stared at her sandwich, willing herself not to react. Have you seen the ring he bought her? Gabriella continued, grabbing an apple from the fruit bowl. Must have cost him 3 months' salary, and I bet it's not even a tenth of what she's used to. She probably thinks she's doing him a favor by accepting it, Elena agreed. Marina felt sick. Was this really what they thought of her? The bathroom upstairs still needs cleaning, Elena said sharply to Marina. And don't take too long with that sandwich. We have a lot more to do. The afternoon brought more of the same. Marina cleaned while Elena and Gabriella talked about her, the real her, as if she wasn't even there. I don't know what Lucas sees in her. It's obvious what he sees. Dollar signs. He says she's different from other rich girls. They're all the same. Spoiled, entitled, looking for someone to control. Each comment was like a knife to Marina's heart. She'd had no idea they felt this way. Lucas had always made it seem like his family was just a bit reserved, maybe intimidated by her background. Not this. By evening, Marina was exhausted, physically and emotionally. She was setting the table for dinner when Miguel Martinez came home from his construction job, his clothes dusty, his face tired. Papa, this is Maria, the maid, Elena introduced her. She's helping with Lucas's fiancé's visit. Miguel barely looked at her, just gave a grunt of acknowledgement before heading to wash up. Dinner was a strained affair. Miguel ate in near silence. Elena complained about everything from the weather to the neighbors. Gabriella talked about her day at the bank, including a story about denying a loan to some rich kid who thought he deserved special treatment. Marina said nothing, just ate quickly and began clearing the dishes. Leave those, a quiet voice said. Marina turned to see a young man of about 20 entering the kitchen. This must be Thomas, Lucas's younger brother. Unlike the rest of the family, he smiled at her. You've been working all day, I'll take care of the dishes. Thomas, that's her job, Eleanor snapped. She looks tired, Mom, Thomas replied. And it's not like we can't handle our own dishes. Eleanor looked like she wanted to argue, but instead just shook her head. Fine, Maria, you can finish the guest room then. As Marina headed upstairs, she heard Thomas ask, why are we treating Lucas's fiancé's visit like a royal inspection anyway? Marina seemed really nice when I met her. You only met her once, Gabriella's voice replied. You don't know what these rich types are really like. Lucas loves her, Thomas said simply. Lucas is blinded by her pretty face and her father's money, Elena retorted. Marina finished the guest room with tears in her eyes. She made the bed with the finest linens the Martinez family owned, plumped the pillows, and arranged fresh flowers on the nightstand, all for herself, for a version of herself that this family clearly despised. Later that night, as she lay on the uncomfortable cot in the tiny room off the kitchen, Marina wondered what she was going to do. She loved Lucas. She wanted to spend her life with him, but how could she marry into a family that hated her before they even knew her? The next morning brought more work and more cutting remarks from Elena and Gabriela. Miguel continued to mostly ignore her existence. Only Thomas showed her any kindness, bringing her a glass of water when she was scrubbing the kitchen floor. "Thank you," she said gratefully. "I'm sorry about my mom and sister," he said quietly. "They can be difficult with people they don't know." Marina looked up at him, wondering if he'd somehow guessed who she really was, but his expression was merely sympathetic, not knowing. "It's okay," she replied. "I'm used to it." And in some ways, she was. She'd always known that her family's wealth created a barrier between her and other people, but she'd never experienced it quite like this, from the other side. As she continued scrubbing, Eleanor came in to inspect her work. "You call that clean?" she sneered. "A woman like my son's fiancée will notice every speck of dirt. Though I suppose a man like my son should never marry above his station. Women like that can't be trusted." Marina froze. Her hands trembled on the scrub brush. The words cut deeper than anything else she'd heard in the past 24 hours. And then the sound of the front door opening. "Hello? Anyone home?" Lucas's warm, familiar voice called out. Marina's heart stopped. He wasn't supposed to be back until evening. Their plan was for her to change back into her normal clothes and arrive as herself once she received his text. "Lucas?" Elena called, surprised. "You're back early." "The meeting finished sooner than expected," he replied. "Where is everyone?" And then, before Marina could move, before she could hide or explain or do anything at all, Lucas walked into the kitchen. His eyes fell on her, kneeling on the floor with a scrub brush in her hand. Dressed in plain clothes, her hair pulled back, her face bare of makeup. For a moment, he just stared, confusion written across his features. Then, slowly, recognition dawned in his eyes. "Marina," he said, his voice a mixture of shock and disbelief. "Is that you?" "Marina," Lucas repeated, his voice rising in disbelief. "What are you doing?" The kitchen fell silent. Eleanor's eyes widened as she looked between her son and the maid, kneeling on her freshly scrubbed floor. "You know her?" Elena asked sharply. Marina slowly stood up, her knees aching, her face burning with shame and embarrassment. She'd been caught. There was no way to hide or pretend anymore. "Hi, Lucas," she said softly, unable to meet his eyes. Lucas stepped forward, confusion written across his handsome face. "I don't understand. Why are you dressed like this? Why are you cleaning my mother's floor?" Before Marina could answer, Eleanor gasped as understanding dawned on her face. "Wait, you're telling me this girl is Marina Collins, your fiancée?" "Yes, Mom," Lucas said, still staring at Marina with bewilderment. "This is Marina, but I have no idea what's going on." Gabriela appeared in the doorway, drawn by the commotion. "What's happening?" "The maid is Lucas's rich girlfriend," Elena said, her voice sharp with anger. "What?" Gabriela looked at Marina with new eyes, recognition slowly replacing confusion. "Oh my God, it is her." Marina felt trapped under their stares, like an animal cornered by hunters. This wasn't how her plan was supposed to end. She wasn't ready for this confrontation, not with all of them at once. "Lucas," she began, her voice trembling slightly. "Can we talk? Privately?" His expression had shifted from confusion to hurt. "Yeah, I think we need to." He led her outside to the back porch, closing the door behind them. The afternoon sun was warm, but Marina felt cold all over. "What is this, Marina?" Lucas asked, gesturing to her outfit. "Some kind of joke? A game?" "No," she replied, wrapping her arms around herself. "It's not a game." "Then what? Why would you pretend to be a maid in my family's home?" Marina took a deep breath. This was the moment of truth, literally. "I wanted to know how your family really felt about me, about us." Lucas's eyebrows drew together. "What are you talking about? Every time I've met your family, they've been distant, cold even. I started to wonder if it was because of my background, my family's money. So I thought if I came here as someone else, someone they didn't know was connected to you, I might see their true colors." Lucas ran a hand through his dark hair, a gesture Marina knew meant he was upset. So you lied. You created this whole fake identity to spy on my family. When he put it that way, it sounded terrible. I just needed to know the truth. And what truth did you discover with this deception? His voice had an edge to it now. Marina felt tears welling in her eyes. They hate me, Lucas. Your mother and sister, at least. They think I'm spoiled and entitled. They think I look down on all of you. Your mother just said women like me can't be trusted. Lucas's jaw tightened. So you've been here how long? A day, listening to them talk about you. Since yesterday morning, Marina admitted. You were supposed to be away until tonight. I was going to change back into my normal clothes and arrive as myself. You weren't supposed to find out. That makes it better. Lucas shook his head in disbelief. Marina, do you have any idea how manipulative this is? The tears spilled over. I know it was wrong. But Lucas, you don't hear how they talk about me when you're not around. Your mother thinks I'm some sort of princess who's going to look down on everything she does. Your sister thinks you're only with me for my money. And you believe that's what I think too? The hurt in his voice was palpable. No, of course not. I know you love me for me. She reached for his hand, but he pulled away. Do you? Because this doesn't feel like trust, Marina. This feels like you didn't trust me when I said my family would come around. I wanted to believe you, she whispered. But they've had 6 months to come around, and they haven't. I thought maybe they were just hiding their true feelings when I was around. And I was right. Lucas turned away from her, looking out at the garden his mother tended so carefully. You had no right to deceive them like this, to deceive me. Inside the house they could hear raised voices. Elena and Gabriella were arguing about something, probably her. What was your endgame here? Lucas asked, turning back to face her. What were you hoping would happen? Marina hadn't really thought that far ahead. I don't know. I guess I thought if I knew for sure how they felt, we could figure out what to do about it. Together. There's nothing to do about it, Lucas said firmly. They're my family. If they have issues with you, we work through them honestly, not with tricks and lies. The back door opened suddenly, and Elena stepped onto the porch. Her face was flushed with anger. I want her out of my house, she said to Lucas, not even looking at Marina. Right now. Mom, Lucas began. No, she came into our home under false pretenses. She spied on us. She made fools of us. Elena's voice shook with rage. What kind of person does something like that? Marina felt sick. Mrs. Martinez, I'm sorry. I never meant to. I don't want your apologies. Elena cut her off. I want you gone. That's enough, Mom, Lucas said sharply. Marina and I are talking. Oh, now you're taking her side? Elena's eyes flashed. After what she did? I'm not taking sides, but this is between Marina and me right now. Elena's mouth set in a hard line. Fine, talk all you want, but she's not staying in this house tonight. Not after this. She went back inside, slamming the door behind her. Lucas sighed heavily. You see what you've done? This is exactly the kind of drama I was hoping to avoid. I'm sorry, Marina said again, feeling smaller by the minute. I never meant to cause problems between you and your family. What did you think would happen? Best case scenario, what was your plan? Marina hesitated. I thought maybe I'd find out they didn't really have a problem with me, that I was just being paranoid. And instead, you confirmed your worst fears and created a whole new set of problems. Lucas shook his head. I need some time to think about this. Marina felt panic rising in her chest. What does that mean? It means I don't know what to do right now. I love you, Marina, but I love my family too, and you've put me in an impossible position. Lucas, please. She reached for him again. Let's not let this come between us. This time he let her take his hand, but his eyes remained troubled. I don't know if that's possible now. The back door opened again, and this time it was Thomas who appeared. His young face was serious as he looked between them. Dad says he wants to talk to both of you in the living room, he said. Lucas nodded. We'll be right there. As Thomas went back inside, Marina wiped her tears. I should change first. I have my regular clothes in my bag. No, Lucas said quietly. Let them see you as you are now. No more pretending. They walked back into the house together, though Marina could feel the distance between them. The living room was tense, with Miguel sitting in his armchair, Elena pacing by the window, and Gabriella perched on the edge of the sofa, arms crossed. Thomas was the only one who didn't look angry, just sad and confused. Sit down, Miguel said, his voice gruff. Unlike his wife and daughter, he hadn't raised his voice, but there was a sternness in his tone that brooked no argument. Marina and Lucas sat on the couch, leaving a careful space between them. Lucas tells me you're his fiancée, Miguel said, looking directly at Marina for the first time since she'd arrived. "The woman my son has chosen to marry." "Yes, sir," Marina replied, trying to keep her voice steady. "And you thought it was appropriate to come into our home disguised as a maid?" Marina swallowed hard. "I made a mistake. I wanted to know how you really felt about me. And now you know," Elena interjected bitterly. "Are you satisfied?" "Elena," Miguel held up a hand to silence his wife, "let me handle this." He turned his attention back to Marina. "In my house, we value honesty, integrity. My children were raised to speak the truth and face problems directly." Marina nodded, shame washing over her. "I understand." "No, I don't think you do," Miguel continued. "You see, my family came to this country with nothing. We worked hard for everything we have. It's not much compared to what you're used to, but it's ours and we're proud of it." "I know that, sir. Lucas has told me about your family's journey. It's one of the things I admire most about him, his work ethic, his values." "Pretty words," Gabriela scoffed, "but actions speak louder." "That's enough, Gabi," Lucas said firmly. Miguel leaned forward in his chair. "The question now is what happens next. Lucas says he loves you, that he wants to marry you. But how can we welcome someone into our family who would deceive us like this?" Marina felt tears threatening again, but forced them back. "I don't expect you to forgive me right away. What I did was wrong. But I hope you can understand that I did it because I care about Lucas, about our future together." "A future that doesn't include us, apparently," Elena muttered. "That's not true," Marina replied, finding her voice. "I want us to be a family, all of us. But the way you've been treating me, the things you've been saying about me behind my back, it hurt. I needed to know if it was just awkwardness or something deeper. And now you know," Gabriela said coldly. "We think you're not good enough for our brother. Not because you're rich, but because you're the kind of person who would pull a stunt like this." "That's unfair," Lucas objected. "Marina made a mistake, yes, but let's not pretend you two have been welcoming to her." Eleanor's eyes flashed. "So we're the villains now? We're supposed to welcome with open arms the woman who just tricked her way into our home, who listened to our private conversations, who made us look like fools?" The room fell silent for a moment. Marina realized with a sinking heart that there might be no coming back from this. The fragile possibility of a relationship with Lucas's family might be gone forever. "I think," Miguel said finally, "that everyone needs time to cool down. Marina, as my wife said, you cannot stay here tonight." Marina nodded, accepting the verdict. "I understand. Lucas," his father continued, "you need to decide where your loyalties lie." "That's not fair, Dad," Lucas protested. "Don't make me choose between Marina and my family." "Life isn't fair, son," Miguel replied evenly, "and sometimes choices must be made." Marina stood up, unable to bear any more. "I'll go pack my things." "I'll help you," Tomas said quietly, standing as well. It was the first time he'd spoken since they'd entered the living room. Marina gave him a grateful look as they left the others still arguing in the living room. In the small room off the kitchen, she quickly gathered her few belongings. "I'm sorry about all this," Tomas said as he handed her a shirt she'd left on the bed. "You're the only one who's been kind to me," Marina replied, "both as Marina and as Maria." "They're not bad people," Tomas said defensively. "They're just protective of Lucas and not very good with change." Marina zipped up her small suitcase. "I love your brother, Thomas. I never meant to hurt him or come between him and your family." Thomas nodded. "I believe you. And for what it's worth, I think Lucas really loves you too." "I hope that's enough," Marina whispered. They returned to the living room where the argument had escalated. Lucas and Gabriela were in a heated exchange, with Eleanor occasionally interjecting. Miguel sat silently, watching it all. "I'm ready to go," Marina announced. Lucas turned to her, his face strained. "I'll drive you to a hotel." "No," Elena said sharply. "You're staying here, Lucas. We need to talk as a family." "Marina is going to be my family too, Mom," Lucas replied, his voice firm. "Is she?" Elena challenged. "After what she did? Are you still sure about that?" Marina saw the conflict in Lucas's eyes and her heart sank. "It's okay, Lucas. I can get a taxi." "No," he said, grabbing his car keys from the side table. "I'm taking you." The drive to the nearest hotel was silent and tense. Marina stared out the window, watching the familiar countryside roll by. Everything had gone so wrong, so quickly. "I'll get you checked in," Lucas said as they pulled into the hotel parking lot. "You don't have to," Marina replied. "I can manage." "I know you can, but I want to." Inside, Lucas waited as Marina used her credit card to book a room. The desk clerk's eyes widened slightly at her name. The Collins family was well known even in this small town, but she said nothing about the contrast between Marina's name and her current appearance. "Room 217, the clerk said, handing over a key card. "Elevators are to your right." In the elevator, Lucas finally broke the silence. "What happens now?" Marina looked at him, this man she loved so much, and felt a wave of despair. "I don't know. I meant what I said back there. I love you. But what you did, I know," she said quietly. "It was wrong. I see that now." They reached her room and Marina opened the door. It was a standard hotel room, clean, impersonal, a far cry from the guest room Elena had made her prepare with such care. Lucas stayed in the doorway, not entering. "I need some time, Marina, to think about everything." She nodded, tears threatening again. "I understand. I'll call you tomorrow," he promised, "after I've had a chance to talk things through with my family." "Lucas," Marina said, her voice breaking slightly, "please don't let them convince you that I'm not the person you thought I was. This mistake, it doesn't change how I feel about you." He looked at her for a long moment. "The problem is, I'm not sure who you are anymore. The Marina I thought I knew wouldn't have done something like this." Before she could respond, his phone rang. He checked it and sighed. "It's my mum. I should go." "Of course," Marina whispered. He hesitated, then leaned in to kiss her cheek. "Get some rest. We'll figure this out." After he left, Marina sat on the edge of the bed, finally allowing the tears to fall freely. How had her plan gone so terribly wrong? She'd wanted clarity, and instead she'd created chaos. Her phone buzzed with a text message. Hoping it was Lucas, she quickly checked it. Instead, it was from an unknown number. "This is Thomas. Lucas gave me your number. Don't give up on him. He loves you more than you know. But there's something you should know about our family, something Lucas never told you." Marina stared at Thomas's text message for a long time. What secret could Lucas have been keeping from her? After everything that had happened today, what more could there possibly be? She typed back, "What do you mean? What secret?" The reply came quickly, not over text. "Can we meet for breakfast tomorrow? 8 a.m. at Joe's Diner downtown." Marina hesitated. Meeting with Thomas behind Lucas's back felt like another deception, but after today's disaster she needed answers. "I'll be there," she replied. Sleep didn't come easily that night. Marina tossed and turned in the unfamiliar hotel bed, replaying the events of the day in her mind. The look of hurt and betrayal on Lucas's face, Elena's anger, Miguel's disappointment, the way Gabriela had looked at her with such contempt. Had she destroyed everything with her foolish plan? Morning came too quickly. Marina showered and dressed in her plain clothes, the only ones she had with her. She'd left her regular clothes in the rental car, which was still parked near the Martinez home. Joe's Diner was a small family-owned place with checkered tablecloths and the smell of fresh coffee in the air. Tomas was already there when she arrived, sitting in a booth near the back, nervously fidgeting with a sugar packet. "Thanks for coming," he said as Marina slid into the seat across from him. "Of course," she replied, "though I'm not sure Lucas would approve." Thomas gave a half smile. "Probably not, but he spent half the night arguing with Mom and Gabby. He's still asleep." A waitress came to take their orders. Coffee for both, pancakes for Tomas, just toast for Marina. Her stomach was too knotted for anything more. Once the waitress left, Marina leaned forward. "So what's this secret you mentioned? What hasn't Lucas told me?" Tomas took a deep breath. "It's about our family, about why they react the way they do to, well, to people with money." "I'm listening," Marina said, wrapping her hands around her coffee mug for warmth. "Before Lucas and I were born, my parents and Gabriela lived in a different town. Dad worked for a wealthy businessman named Richard Harrington. He owned a construction company, the biggest in the area." Marina nodded, encouraging him to continue. "Dad was his foreman, worked there for 15 years. Mr. Harrington treated him like family, or so Dad thought, had him over for dinner, invited him to family events. Dad trusted him completely." The waitress returned with their food, interrupting momentarily. When she left, Tomas continued, his voice lower. "Then one day, everything changed. There was an accident at a construction site. A worker was badly injured. Mr. Harrington needed someone to blame, and he chose Dad." "That's terrible," Marina said softly. Tomas nodded, pushing his pancakes around on his plate. "He fired Dad, claimed he had been negligent, but it wasn't true. Dad had warned Mr. Harrington about safety issues, but fixing them would have cost money and delayed the project. So he made your father the scapegoat," Marina realized. "Exactly. Dad tried to fight it, But Mr. Harrington had powerful friends, expensive lawyers. He not only fired Dad but blacklisted him in the industry. No one would hire him. Marina felt a chill. What happened? We lost everything. The house, the car. Dad couldn't find work for almost 2 years. Mom had to take 3 jobs just to keep food on the table. Gabriella had to drop out of college to help support the family. I had no idea, Marina whispered. When Lucas was born, they were living in a one-room apartment. By the time I came along, things were a little better. Dad had started his own small construction business, but it was a struggle. Marina thought about the modest Martinez home, about Elena's pride in her garden, about the worn furniture that had clearly been carefully maintained for years. They worked so hard to rebuild their lives, Thomas continued, but the betrayal, it changed them, especially Mom and Gabi. They never trusted wealthy people again. And Lucas never told me any of this? Thomas shook his head. He doesn't like to talk about it. He was too young to remember the worst of it. And I think he wanted you to form your own impression of our family, without that story coloring everything. Marina sat back, processing this new information. It didn't excuse the way they had treated her, but it helped explain it. Their suspicion, their hostility, it came from a place of deep hurt. Thank you for telling me, she said finally. It helps me understand. There's more, Thomas said, looking uncomfortable. Last night after you left, Lucas and Dad had a long talk. Dad told him that he should break off the engagement. Marina felt like she'd been punched in the stomach. What did Lucas say? He didn't agree, but he didn't disagree either. He just said he needed time to think. Tears pricked at Marina's eyes. I really messed up, didn't I? Thomas reached across the table and patted her hand awkwardly. You made a mistake, but you're not the villain Mom and Gabi are making you out to be. I don't know how to fix this, Marina admitted. I might have an idea, Thomas said hesitantly, but you'd have to trust me. Back at the hotel, Marina paced her room, considering Thomas's suggestion. It was risky. There was no guarantee it would work, but she was out of other options. She pulled out her phone and made a call. Dad? It's me. I need your help with something. 2 hours later, Marina walked into the lobby of the Martinez construction company. The small business Miguel had built from nothing after losing everything. The receptionist looked up in surprise. Can I help you? I need to see Miguel Martinez, Marina said. It's important. Do you have an appointment? No, but... Marina! Miguel's voice came from down the hall. He stood in the doorway of his office, frowning at the sight of her. What are you doing here? I need to talk to you, she said. Please, just 5 minutes. He hesitated, then nodded curtly. 5 minutes. His office was small but neat, with blueprints on the walls and a desk cluttered with paperwork. He didn't offer her a seat. Mr. Martinez, Marina began. Thomas told me about what happened with Mr. Harrington. Miguel's face darkened. That's family business. Thomas had no right. He was trying to help me understand. Marina interrupted gently. And I do understand better now. What that man did to you and your family was unforgivable. If you came here to offer sympathy, I don't need it, Miguel said stiffly. That's not why I'm here. Marina took a deep breath. I'm here to offer you a business proposition. Miguel raised an eyebrow. What kind of proposition? My father owns several properties downtown that need renovation. High-end work. The kind that would showcase your company's skills. He's looking for a contractor. And you want to throw some business our way as what? A peace offering? Miguel's voice was hard. We don't need charity. It's not charity, Marina replied firmly. My father needs a reliable contractor with experience. Your reputation in town is excellent. This is business, pure and simple. Miguel looked skeptical. Why would your father hire a small company like mine when he could go with a bigger firm? Because I vouched for you, Marina said simply. And because, despite what you might think of me, I care about Lucas and his family. Miguel was silent for a long moment. Even if I were interested, your father would need to contact me directly. I don't do business through intermediaries. He's waiting for your call, Marina said, placing a business card on the desk. And Mr. Martinez, this isn't about buying your approval. It's about showing you who I really am. Not the spoiled rich girl you think I am, but someone who believes in hard work and family. Just like you. She turned to leave, but Miguel's voice stopped her. Why are you doing this? After the way we treated you? Marina looked back at him. Because I love your son, and he loves you. I don't want him to have to choose between us. With that, she left, hoping she had planted a seed that might eventually grow into understanding, if not acceptance. Back at the hotel, Marina found Lucas waiting for her in the lobby. Her heart leaped at the sight of him. then plummeted when she saw his serious expression. "Lucas," she said, approaching him cautiously, "I didn't expect to see you here." "Tomas told me you two had breakfast," he said, his tone unreadable, "and then my father called to tell me you came to his office." Marina winced. "I was going to tell you about that." "Were you?" Lucas looked tired, the kind of bone-deep exhaustion that came from emotional strain. "Or was it going to be another secret?" "That's not fair," Marina said, hurt. "I was trying to make things right. By going behind my back again? By involving your father in my family's business? I was trying to build a bridge," Marina explained, "to show your father who I really am." Lucas sighed heavily. "Marina, you can't fix this with a big contract or your father's influence. That's exactly the kind of thing that makes my family uncomfortable." "Then what can I do?" Marina asked, frustration rising. "I've apologized. I've tried to explain. I've tried to understand why your family dislikes me so much. What else is there?" "Maybe nothing," Lucas said quietly. "Maybe some things can't be fixed." Marina felt her blood run cold. "What are you saying?" "I'm saying I don't know if we can move past this. My family is important to me, Marina. Their approval matters." "And I don't?" Her voice cracked. "Of course you do." Lucas ran a hand through his hair. "But relationships shouldn't be this hard. Not at the beginning." "Relationships take work," Marina countered. "All of them do." "Yes, but Lucas, I made a mistake. A big one. But it was because I cared so much, because I wanted your family to accept me." Marina felt tears threatening but forced them back. "I know about Mr. Harrington now. I understand why they're suspicious of me, but I'm not him. I would never betray you or your family that way." Lucas looked surprised. "Tomas told you about that too?" "Yes, and I wish you had told me sooner. I might have understood better, might have approached things differently." They stood in silence for a moment, the gulf between them seeming wider than ever. "I need to ask you something," Lucas finally said, "and I need you to be completely honest." "Of course," Marina promised. "If my family never accepts you, if they never welcome you with open arms, would you still want to marry me?" The question caught Marina off guard. Would she? Could she commit to a lifetime of strained holiday dinners, of always feeling like an outsider, of Lucas being torn between her and his family? Lucas's phone rang, interrupting her. He glanced at it and frowned. "It's my mother. I should take this." Marina nodded, both relieved and frustrated by the interruption. "Hello," Lucas answered, stepping a few feet away. "What? When? Is he okay?" "Yes, I'll be right there." He hung up, his face pale. "What's wrong?" Marina asked, alarmed. "It's my father. He collapsed at work. They've taken him to the hospital." "Oh my God, is he?" "I don't know. Mum says it might be his heart." Lucas was already moving toward the door. "I have to go." "I'll come with you," Marina said automatically. Lucas hesitated. "Marina, I don't think that's a good idea. My mother is already upset, and with everything that's happened..." The rejection stung, but Marina understood. "Of course. Go. Your family needs you." Lucas looked conflicted. "We'll finish our conversation later. I promise." "Just go," Marina urged. "Your father is what matters right now." After Lucas left, Marina sat down heavily in a lobby chair. Everything was falling apart. The man she loved was slipping away. His family hated her. And now Miguel was in the hospital, possibly because of the stress she had caused. Her phone buzzed with a text from Lucas. "At hospital. Dad had a mild heart attack. Doctors say he'll be okay but needs rest. We'll call you later." Relief washed over her, followed quickly by guilt. Had her visit to Miguel's office contributed to his condition? Had the stress of the conflict between her and his family pushed him over the edge? Marina knew what she had to do. She texted Lucas back, "So glad he's okay. Take care of your family. We'll talk when things calm down." Then she called the front desk and extended her stay for another night. She had one more thing to try, one last chance to make things right. The next morning, Marina dressed carefully in her own clothes, which she'd retrieved from the rental car. She did her hair and makeup simply but elegantly. Then she drove to St. Joseph's Hospital. The nurse at the information desk directed her to Miguel's room on the 3rd floor. Marina took a deep breath before knocking softly on the door. Elena opened it, her face hardening at the sight of Marina. "What are you doing here?" "Mrs. Martinez, please," Marina said quietly. "I just want to see how Mr. Martinez is doing." "He's resting," Elena replied coldly. "He doesn't need any more stress." "Mom?" Gabriella appeared behind her mother. "Who is it?" Her expression soured when she saw Marina. "You've got some nerve showing up here." "I only wanted..." "Haven't you done enough damage?" Gabriella demanded. "My father is in the hospital because of you." "That's not fair, Gabby." came Lucas's voice from inside the room. He appeared in the doorway, looking exhausted but determined. Dad's heart attack wasn't Marina's fault. She went to his office yesterday, Gabriella argued, tried to bribe him with some contract from her father. Then hours later he collapses. That's not a coincidence. It wasn't a bribe, Marina protested. It was a legitimate business opportunity. Please, Eleanor said, her voice suddenly tired rather than angry. Just go. Our family needs peace right now. Marina looked past them to where she could see Miguel in the hospital bed, pale but awake. He was watching the scene at the door with an unreadable expression. Mrs. Martinez, Marina said softly, I understand you're protecting your family. I would do the same, but please believe me when I say I love Lucas. I would never do anything to hurt him or any of you intentionally. Elena's expression didn't soften. If you truly love my son, you'll walk away. You'll let him be with someone who fits into his life, his family. Someone like him. The words hit Marina like a physical blow. Behind Elena, she could see the pain in Lucas's eyes, the conflict. Is that what you want, Lucas? Marina asked, her voice barely above a whisper. For me to walk away? Before Lucas could answer, a voice came from the hospital bed. Let her in, Miguel said firmly. Everyone turned to look at him in surprise. Miguel, you need to rest, Elena protested. Let her in, he repeated. I want to talk to her. Lucas looked at his father, then at Marina, then stepped aside to let her enter. Elena and Gabriella reluctantly made space for her to pass. Marina approached the hospital bed cautiously. Miguel looked smaller somehow, more vulnerable in the hospital gown with monitors attached to his chest. Mr. Martinez, she began, I'm so sorry about your heart attack. If my visit yesterday contributed in any way... It didn't, he interrupted. The doctor says I've been heading for this for years. Too much work, too much stress, not enough looking after myself. He glanced at his wife. Elena has been telling me to slow down for a decade. Marina nodded, unsure what else to say. Your father called me this morning, Miguel continued, surprising everyone in the room. He did. Marina hadn't expected that. She'd left the business card, but hadn't been sure her father would follow through. Yes, we had a long talk. About business at first, then about family. Miguel's eyes were shrewd as he studied her. He told me about your mother's death when you were 12, about how he raised you alone after that. Marina swallowed hard. Yes. He said you worked in his gallery every summer from age 14, that you insisted on learning the business from the ground up, even though you didn't have to. I wanted to earn my place there, Marina said simply, not just inherit it. Miguel nodded slowly. He also told me that this business proposition was your idea, that you specifically asked him to hire my company, not just hand me the job as a favor. Marina felt all eyes in the room on her. Yes, that's true. Your company has an excellent reputation. It makes good business sense. Miguel was quiet for a moment. You know, the night before last, I told Lucas he needed to choose between you and his family. Marina's heart sank. I know. I was wrong to do that, Miguel said, surprising her. A father shouldn't make his child choose, not when that choice will bring him pain either way. Dad, Lucas began, but Miguel held up a hand. Let me finish, son. He turned back to Marina. What you did, coming to our home under false pretenses, it was wrong, but I think I understand why you did it. Marina held her breath, hardly daring to hope. Sometimes, Miguel continued, we do foolish things out of love. I've done my share, God knows. He glanced at Elena with a look of such tenderness that Marina felt like an intruder. The question is, what do we do after the mistake? Do we learn from it? Do we try to make it right? I'm trying, Marina whispered. Miguel nodded. I can see that. He looked at Lucas. Your mother is right about one thing. This young woman doesn't fit easily into our family. She comes from a different world, with different experiences. Marina felt tears welling up. This was it. Miguel was going to tell Lucas to end things. But, Miguel continued, perhaps our family could use a little expanding, a little growth. Eleanor gasped softly. Miguel, you can't be serious. I've lived too long with bitterness, Elena, he replied. This heart attack, it makes a man think about what really matters. He turned back to Marina. I'm not saying all is forgiven. Trust once broken takes time to rebuild. But if my son loves you and you love him, then I'm willing to try. To give you another chance. Marina couldn't stop the tears now. Thank you, Mr. Martinez. I promise you won't regret it. Don't make promises you might not be able to keep, Miguel warned. Just try. That's all any of us can do. Marina nodded, wiping away her tears. She looked at Lucas, whose expression had softened. "Does this mean—" she began. "It means," Lucas said, taking her hand, "that we still have a lot to talk about, but maybe, just maybe, there's a path forward for us." It wasn't a perfect resolution. Eleanor still looked unhappy, and Gabriella's expression was stormy, but it was a start, a glimmer of hope where before there had been none. As the hospital room door opened and Tomas entered with coffee for everyone, Marina felt something she hadn't expected to feel again so soon. Belonging. Not completely, not yet. But the possibility was there, growing slowly like a delicate seedling. Tomas smiled when he saw her, then looked around at his family with raised eyebrows. "Did I miss something?" "Just the beginning of something new," Lucas replied, his hand still holding Marina's. "Something challenging, but maybe worth fighting for." Marina squeezed his hand, her heart full. The road ahead would be difficult. She had no illusions about that. But for the first time since her deception had been discovered, she allowed herself to believe that her happily ever after with Lucas might still be possible after all. Then Eleanor stepped forward, her face set in determination. "I need to speak with Marina. Alone." Marina followed Elena out of Miguel's hospital room and into a small waiting area down the hall. Her heart pounded in her chest. Despite Miguel's surprising olive branch, Elena had remained cold and distant. What did Lucas's mother want to say to her now? The waiting room was empty, except for a few uncomfortable chairs and a coffee machine in the corner. Elena gestured for Marina to sit, then took the chair across from her. For a long moment, neither woman spoke. Elena studied Marina's face with an intensity that made Marina want to look away, but she didn't. She met the older woman's gaze steadily, determined to show her strength. "My husband thinks we should give you another chance," Elena finally said, her voice carefully neutral. "I'm grateful for that," Marina replied. "Miguel has always been more forgiving than I am," Elena continued. "It's one of the reasons I love him. But it's also why he got hurt so badly by Richard Harrington all those years ago." Marina nodded, understanding the implication. Elena was afraid of history repeating itself, afraid that Marina would hurt Lucas the way Harrington had hurt Miguel. "Mrs. Martinez," Marina began. "I'm not—" Eleanor held up a hand, cutting her off. "Let me finish. When Lucas first told us about you, about who your family was, how much money you had, I was terrified. I thought, here we go again. Another rich person who's going to look down on us. Maybe use Lucas and then discard him when he's no longer useful." Marina winced, but stayed silent. "Then we met you," Elena continued. "You were polite, well-dressed, beautiful. You said all the right things. But I couldn't see past my own fear. I didn't want to." "I understand," Marina said softly. "No, you don't," Eleanor replied, but without the harshness that had characterized her previous interactions with Marina. "You can't possibly understand what it's like to lose everything, to watch your husband's spirit break, to see your daughter give up her dreams to help keep the family afloat." Marina looked down at her hands. "You're right. I can't understand that. I've been fortunate in ways you haven't." "Yes, you have." Elena's voice was matter-of-fact, not accusatory. "But that's not your fault, just as our struggles weren't ours. Life gives us different paths." Marina looked up, surprised by this philosophical turn. "When you showed up at our door as Maria the maid," Eleanor continued, "I treated you terribly. I was harsh, demanding, critical. You didn't know who I was," Marina pointed out. "That's just it," Eleanor said, leaning forward slightly. "I shouldn't treat anyone that way, maid or millionaire. My mother raised me better than that." For the first time, Marina saw something like shame in Elena's eyes. "Watching you work so hard without complaint, seeing how Tomas responded to your kindness, it made me uncomfortable, because it didn't fit with the story I'd created in my head about rich people." "Mrs. Martinez." "Then when Lucas recognized you, and we realized who you really were, it was easier to focus on your deception than to admit I'd been wrong about you from the start." Marina hardly dared to breathe. Was Elena Martinez actually apologizing to her? "I'm not saying what you did was right," Elena clarified quickly. "It wasn't. Honesty matters in a family, and if you're going to be part of ours, I need to know I can trust you." "If I'm going to be part of yours," Marina repeated, hope flaring in her chest. Eleanor sighed deeply. "Miguel is right. I can't ask Lucas to choose. It would break his heart either way." She looked directly into Marina's eyes. "Do you love my son? Truly love him, not just the idea of him?" "With all my heart," Marina answered without hesitation. "Enough to put up with a difficult mother-in-law who might take years to fully trust you." A small smile touched Marina's lips. "Yes, even that. And enough to sign a prenuptial agreement?" The question caught Marina off guard. A prenup? Elena nodded firmly. Yes, to protect Lucas. So he knows, so we all know, that you're marrying him for love, not because you need anything from him financially. Marina felt a flash of indignation. After everything, Elena still thought she might be after Lucas's modest assets, but then she saw the vulnerability behind the request. This wasn't just about money, it was about proving her intentions. I would be happy to sign a prenup, Marina said. In fact, my father suggested the same thing months ago, to protect my inheritance. Elena looked surprised. He did? Yes, but Lucas refused. He said he didn't want my money, that he wanted to provide for me himself. Marina smiled at the memory. He's very proud, like his father, Elena murmured, a hint of affection in her voice. I don't care about the money, Mrs. Martinez. My father taught me that wealth is just a tool, not a measure of worth. What matters is how you treat people, how hard you work, how much you love. Elena studied her for another long moment, then slowly nodded. I believe you mean that. She took a deep breath. I can't promise I'll be the warm, welcoming mother-in-law you might have hoped for, not right away, but I can promise to try. Marina felt tears stinging her eyes. That's all I ask. And I ask for the same in return, Elena said. Patience, understanding when I struggle, and above all, honesty from now on. You have my word, Marina promised. Elena stood up. Then let's go back. I'm sure Lucas is wondering what I'm saying to you. As they walked back to Miguel's room, Marina felt a weight lifting from her shoulders. It wasn't a perfect resolution. There was still hurt to heal, trust to rebuild, but it was a beginning. In the hospital room, Lucas looked up anxiously as they entered. Everything okay? Marina and Elena exchanged a glance. We've reached an understanding, Elena said simply. The relief on Lucas's face was palpable. He reached for Marina's hand, pulling her to his side. Dad's being discharged tomorrow, he told her. The doctor says he needs to take it easy for a while, but there doesn't seem to be any permanent damage. That's wonderful news, Marina said, smiling at Miguel, who was looking much better than he had earlier. Yes, Elena agreed, moving to her husband's side and taking his hand. But it means someone needs to run the business while he recovers. I can do it, Gabriela offered immediately. I'll take time off from the bank. Actually, Miguel said, I was thinking Lucas might step in. With his architectural background, he'd be well suited to manage the projects we have underway. He looked at his son. If you're willing. Lucas looked surprised. Of course I'm willing. But what about my job at the firm? It would only be temporary, Miguel assured him. A few weeks, maybe a month. Actually, Marina said hesitantly, this might be good timing. My father's renovation project is pretty significant. Having Lucas involved could make the transition smoother. Gabriela frowned. You're still pushing that deal? It's a legitimate business opportunity, Marina replied calmly. But if you're not interested, I understand. I didn't say that, Gabriela muttered. I think it's worth considering, Miguel said, surprising everyone. Victor Collins has a lot of connections in this town. If we do good work for him, it could open doors for us. Exactly, Marina agreed. Tomas, who had been quiet during this exchange, suddenly spoke up. So does this mean the wedding is still on? All eyes turned to Lucas and Marina. Lucas looked at her, the question clear in his eyes. After everything that had happened, was she still sure? Marina squeezed his hand. As far as I'm concerned, yes, if Lucas still wants to marry me. I do, Lucas said firmly. More than ever. He looked at his family. But I need to know that you'll all support us, that you'll give Marina a real chance. Miguel nodded. You have my blessing, son. And mine, Elena added, though her smile was still a bit strained. Though I think maybe you should postpone the wedding a bit. Give us all time to adjust. I think that's wise, Marina agreed. Gabriela rolled her eyes. Fine. I guess I'm outvoted. But there was less hostility in her voice than before. Tomas grinned. Does this mean I still get to be a groomsman? Of course, Lucas laughed, reaching out to ruffle his younger brother's hair. The tension in the room had eased, replaced by a cautious optimism. It wasn't perfect, but it was a start. 2 weeks later, Marina stood in the kitchen of the Martinez family home, carefully stirring a pot of Elena's special arroz con pollo. The older woman watched over her shoulder, occasionally offering advice. A little more saffron, Elena suggested. And don't stir too much, you'll break up the rice. Like this? Marina asked, adjusting her technique. Elena nodded approvingly. Better. You're learning. The cooking lessons had been Elena's idea, a way for them to spend time together, to get to know each other better. It hadn't been easy. There were still moments of awkwardness, of unintentional offense given or taken, but they were trying, both of them. In the living room, Lucas and Miguel were going over plans for the Collins renovation project, which had officially been awarded to Martinez Construction. Lucas had taken to running the business with an enthusiasm that surprised everyone, especially his father. "He has a good head for business," Miguel had told Marina proudly the day before. "Better than mine, if I'm honest." "He takes after his father," Marina had replied, earning a rare smile from her future father-in-law. The doorbell rang, and Tomas bounded down the stairs to answer it. "That'll be Gabby and her new boyfriend," he announced. Marina and Elena exchanged a look. Gabriela had been the slowest to warm to Marina, but even she had begun to thaw slightly, especially after Marina had introduced her to James, a young loan officer who worked at her father's bank. "He's not my boyfriend," Gabriela protested as she entered the kitchen, followed by a handsome man in his early 30s. "We're just colleagues." "Who happen to be dating," James added with a grin, offering his hand to Marina. "Good to see you again." "You too," Marina replied warmly. She had a feeling James might be exactly what Gabriela needed, someone kind and straightforward, without a cynical bone in his body. As they all gathered around the dining table for Sunday dinner, a Martinez family tradition that Marina was still getting used to, she looked around at these people who were slowly becoming her family. Miguel, still moving a bit carefully after his heart attack, but looking healthier than he had in years. Eleanor, who would probably never be the warm, fuzzy mother-in-law of Marina's dreams, but who was making a genuine effort to accept her. Gabriela, gradually letting go of her bitterness as she found her own happiness. Tomas, the unexpected bridge builder who had helped them all find their way to understanding. And Lucas, her Lucas, watching him laugh with his father, seeing the love and pride in his eyes when he looked at her, Marina knew she had made the right choice, not just in loving him, but in fighting for that love, in refusing to give up when things got hard. "What are you thinking about?" Lucas asked, noticing her thoughtful expression. Marina smiled. "About how lucky I am, how lucky we both are." "Because of your father's money?" Gabriela asked, but the teasing note in her voice took the sting out of the words. "No," Marina replied simply. "Because of family, the one I was born into, and the one I'm marrying into." Eleanor raised her glass. "To family, then. Old and new. To family," everyone echoed. Later that evening, as Marina and Lucas walked hand in hand in the garden Eleanor had tended so carefully, she felt a peace she hadn't expected to find so soon. "You know," Lucas said, stopping under the old oak tree that dominated the backyard, "when you first came up with that crazy plan to pretend to be a maid, I never would have imagined we'd end up here." Marina laughed softly. "Me neither. It was a terrible idea. The worst," Lucas agreed, pulling her close. "But maybe in a strange way it was what we needed. It forced everything into the open. The hard way," Marina pointed out. "True, but we got through it." He brushed a strand of hair from her face. "And I think we're stronger for it." Marina nodded. "Your family is extraordinary, Lucas. Complicated and stubborn and a little bit scary. Especially my mother," Lucas interjected with a grin. "Especially your mother," Marina agreed. "But also loving and loyal and real." "I'm honored to become a part of it." "And I'm honored to become a part of yours," Lucas replied. "Even if your father still intimidates me a little." "He likes you," Marina assured him. "He told me so." "High praise from Victor Collins," Lucas said, only half joking. Marina wrapped her arms around his neck. "I love you, Lucas Martinez, apron or no apron. And I love you, Marina Collins, rich or poor, in disguise or as yourself." He kissed her gently. "Just promise me one thing?" "Anything. No more undercover operations, okay? I think we've had enough drama to last a lifetime." Marina laughed. "I promise. From now on, nothing but honesty between us." As the sun set over the Martinez family home, casting long shadows across the garden, Marina thought about the journey that had brought her here. She had come looking for answers, for acceptance, for love. She had found all three, though not in the way she'd expected. Sometimes, she reflected, you had to lose your way to find where you truly belonged. Sometimes you had to look beyond appearances, beyond wealth or poverty, beyond first impressions and old prejudices, to see the person underneath. And sometimes, just sometimes, love was strong enough to overcome even the deepest doubts and fears. Strong enough to build bridges across the divides that separated people. Strong enough to create something new and beautiful from the broken pieces of the past. As Lucas took her hand and led her back toward the house where his family waited, Her family now too. Marina knew that whatever challenges lay ahead, they would face them together. Not just the two of them, but all of them, bound by something more precious than money, more enduring than pride. The love behind the apron had turned out to be just the beginning.